Hey there, everybody. I wanted to come on and do a video. Um, it's likely something that a lot of people, I'm going to warn you in advance, a lot of people won't want to hear this. But I've been working with astrology for nearly 30 years. And something that I have seen is that in most instances, people have too many expectations from astrology, which is not to diminish the power of astrology because it's an exceptionally powerful tool. But I've noticed there are a lot of people who either see astrology as something that is going to predict everything in their life down to every single finite detail, and that somehow, if astrology does not do that with 100% accuracy, then astrology is a failure. Anyway, okay, so I guess you noticed my opinion on that. So the other side of that is that people also tend to think of astrology as a tool to manifest anything in life that they absolutely want. It's not going to do that either. And usually when people are going to seek an astrology reading, or they are getting their astrology information from a YouTube channel, or however you're digesting astrology, if you're going to astrology with those expectations, astrology is going to let you down because you're expecting too much from astrology, right? Here's the thing. Astrology will show the karmic patterns of the individual, right? Okay, so I'm going to try to keep this brief, but this is pretty meaningful, which is, we tend to think of karma as, oh, I did something bad, now I'm being punished for it. No, that's not really what karma is. Karma means action or work. So we take actions, those actions create certain patterns. Our work here is to work with those patterns and determine whether those patterns help us to feel more at peace with our life or drive us further away from being at peace with ourselves. That ultimately is what karma is, and that's ultimately what the eradication of karma is all about. Because if we understand that, we're purifying karma so we can be at one with self, well, if we're at odds with ourself and we're unhappy with ourselves and we're not at peace with our decisions, then ultimately we're not going to be at one with ourself in a way that's going to allow us to soak in the bliss of it. Okay. Astrology and karma is all really, really simple in that particular regard. So, what astrology can do and what it's really excellent for is it can help you to understand those karmic patterns. It can help you to understand a little more about yourself. It's not there to tell you, you do this, you do that. On X day, you do this and you take this approach, and your life will turn out precisely this way. No, that's not what it's about. What it's about is helping you to understand the connection between yourself and the life that you exist in. So you may find that you're in a situation where, in order to create the external thing that you want, you have to go into a space where you're at odds with yourself. Then you're confronted with that decision. What decision do you want to make? Which decision carries you closer to yourself? And which decision carries you further away from yourself? This ultimately is how astrology excels. So, am I saying people should never approach astrology for prediction? No, by no means. But to expect astrology to always be perfectly 100% accurate in absolute stunning, glorious technicolor detail is expecting way too much from astrology. How astrology is going to serve you best is helping you to understand the approaching patterns in your life if you're looking at things predictively. It's going to help you to understand this particular pattern is coming up. So, for example, if we're looking at things predictively and we're seeing this particular pattern is coming up that shows that you're going to have financial hardship. Does that mean we're meant to kind of sit back and go, oh dear, I'm going to have financial hardships. I'm just going to sit here and suffer, and I'm not going to do anything to take action because the astrologer said that's going to happen. So therefore, my life will be futile if I go in that direction. No. Likely at that time, your heart's going to go, I have people around me who rely on my actions and me putting energy in and me putting effort in, and I have to live by the contents of my heart in relation to those specific circumstances. So I'm going to keep pushing through and fighting through. But the way we can be at peace in that circumstance is to recognize I can't control the outcome. So I have to be at peace with myself and the actions that I'm putting in and perform those actions sheerly for the sake that they're the right actions to do as per the contents of my heart, as per my dharma, as per what is correct for me. I'm sorry I'm really animated with this. I just encounter this so much with people, and they get so upset that they think, astrology is somehow letting them down. And usually it's the false hopes that they're pinning on astrology that are letting them down. And, I don't mean to sound harsh or to blame people or to give people a hard time because life is rough sometimes. And so we just want a release from it. So, for example, we may go, I really want a relationship in my life, but the astrologer's telling me that I'm not going to get married until this day. So, therefore, I'm just going to give up on love. Well, you have to ask yourself whether that's what you really want to do, or do you want to live from the space of engaging with other humans, interacting with other humans, learn from the experience, understand more about yourself and why you might be having a hard time having relationships and relating to other people. I think you get the picture, right? Karma, the karma that exists in our life it's a learning path. It's something that we're meant to engage with. We're meant to try to alter it. We're not just like these zombies walking through life going to get a job at this time, going to get a relationship at this time. Here comes the nice house with 2.5 children. And no, it's not like that. Okay. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be harsh, but maybe sometimes it's necessary because I think that people really need to get to, all right, I'm going to say it. The word almost came out. They need to get a grip on what astrology is really all about. And, I'm fortunate. I've been engaging with astrology for nearly 30 years. So when doing that, you get a pretty clear understanding of how it works, what it's able to do, what's the responsibility of the client, what's the responsibility of the astrologer, and you're able to kind of sort through all the details. So how should we approach prediction? I was kind of saying it before, but we need to approach it from the perspective of here comes a pattern. I can know that at this time in my life, this might be going on. And as I go into it expecting it, or understanding it, I don't want to say expecting it, or if I go into it knowing that this might happen, because yeah, sometimes our emotional responses to situations change. We become more at peace with something. So sometimes it doesn't feel quite to the level of intensity that we might be expecting from an astrology consultation. And that comes more with our mature reaction to the astrological details that we're dealing with. There's a factor within astrology, within Vedic astrology. They're called the Deep T Avastas. On a certain level, for those of you familiar with Vedic astrology, they deal with things like a planet being in a friend sign, it gets delighted. A planet being in the sign of a neutral, it is scarce. Dina, it's called Dina Avasta. Things along those lines. So those things, one of the factors that they do is they show how the planet feels as it's fulfilling its responsibility, which then translates into how the individual is likely to feel as they're fulfilling their responsibilities to their life. So if you see a difficult one of those running that says, oh, this person's going to likely be unhappy with this area of their life or likely find difficult, it doesn't mean that person has to be unhappy or has to be ill at ease with the situation that they're dealing with. They also don't have to repress their emotions if that's what they're feeling, though. But quite often, if we're approaching those circumstances with the level of emotional maturity, and yes, I will say astrological maturity, we're actually able to see that, okay, well, actually, this is not as bad as I was expecting. And that's one of the ways that prediction can serve us. If we understand, hey, this time it might be difficult. I'm not going to like sentence myself to saying, oh no, my finances are going to be horrible at this time. And that's the other side we need to talk about too. I'm not going to sentence myself to that. I'm not going to say my finances are going to be horrible. I don't have any other choice. No, that's not how we deal with it. We kind of go, astrology says this. Let's see what happens. Let's play with the universe, right? Because we're all at play with the universe, right? So why don't we just go, astrology says this. Let's see what happens. And sometimes if we take that open, almost like if you're familiar with the tarot deck, full base approach to life, then it tends to work out a little bit easier. And that's the other side that I see too. I see sometimes people will look at their astrology and they go looking for those horrible aspects. That's what they do. And then they live in anxiety about those difficult aspects. That's not going to help you either because then when that time comes, you're going to be in anxiety, right? So astrology is not here to not give you a choice. It's here to kind of say, hey, here comes the pattern. Why don't you get clear on what your choice is going to be and how you'd like to respond to difficulty, and then see if the difficulty even happens. Because sometimes if you alter your response, bingo, the circumstances externally also alter too. But here's the big proviso. If you go into the situation thinking if I alter my response, I will alter the outcome, then it's not going to work quite the way you expect it to. Remember, you have no, as the Bhagavad Gita says, you have no right to the fruits of your actions. Nor does that mean you're here to be inactive. You're just here to do what is your dharma, what you live by, what's in your heart. All the rest will unfold. So don't, place false expectations on astrology. Don't place false expectations on yourself. Do your best, live by your heart, work with astrology in a way that it's actually going to help you rather than placing all these expectations on it that it's not going to be able to fulfill for you. Thanks a lot for watching. If you'd like to schedule in a consultation with me so I can help you to work with astrology more efficiently, even look at things predictively for you, but help you to approach it in a more proactive way, then you can schedule in one of my astrological services. You're going to find those at the link that you see above. Thank you so much for watching, everybody, and I'll talk to you really soon. Bye now.